I moved to Australia with my close friend, and she drained me financially, refused to work, and gaslit me for months. When she cheated on her long-distance boyfriend, I told him everything. So this is going to be a long one. Apologies for that. Everything happened over the span of 5 months. Also, English is not first language, so apologies as well for any grammatical mistakes. I, 27 male, and my non-blood related sister Lilly, 22 female, moved to Australia together at the beginning of the 2023. My sister had been dating my cousin, they are not related, for 6 months before our trip. Making the trip was a lot of money, which none of us paid because my stepmom, her godmother, the reason that we met 18 years ago, paid for everything. For the both of us, she is by no means rich. She just works her butt off Sunday to Sunday and makes money accordingly. A little backstory. I decided to move to the other side of the world because 3 years ago my dad was diagnosed with cancer. I quit my job, stopped meeting with friends and everything in order to take care of all of his medical stuff. Doc's appointments, medical tests, insurance, claims, driving him, etc. To the point that my life was put on a big hold. If I wasn't taking care of him, I was taking care of my younger siblings, 5 male and 10 female, which was a lot. My dad was doing much better, and I needed a way to restart my life. So that's why I decided to come to Australia. Lilly had the plan way before I did. I'm the one who diced to join her 8 months before her departure. Before coming here, Lilly and I were really close, especially in the last couple of years. We went out together, we told each other's everything. She was the first person in my family that I came out to. The trust levels were truly through the roof. Well, everything changed after we got to Australia. She was in this mood/attitude that she hated it here. Hence, she didn't want to do anything, like getting a job. The deal without stepmom was she would pay for us to come here, but that was it. She would not be supporting us while in here since it was way too expensive, so food and rent were on us, which is more than fair. We booked an Airbnb for a week, a couple months in advance. I paid with my credit card. She said that she would send me the money later that day. Spoiler alert, she didn't. During our first week here, I wanted to save all the cash as possible, as finding a job could have taken a while, so I was paying everything with my credit card. Lilly didn't have one. We agreed to pay everything by half, so the idea was that once she found a job, she would give me her part of the bill in order to pay for my card. Spoiler alert, also didn't happen. Lilly found a weekend job on our second day here. However, she kept complaining about it. Mind you, she doesn't speak English on a conversational level, so her options were rather limited. She worked there for 2 weekends before she just stopped going. First because she was feeling sick, then she was getting her period. Then she was sick again. However, this only seemed to happen during the weekend when it was 8 a.m. and time to go to work. Not the night before at 4 a.m. when she was talking over the phone with her boyfriend. She got paid on a daily basis on the couple of days she worked there. I never saw a single cent out of that money, the money that she already owed me at that point. Another major thing happened. After our Airbnb rent was over, we couldn't find a place to live. The Airbnb was already rented for the very next day, so we had no options than to take our bags and leave. We were literally homeless. Hotels and hostels prices were crazy night per day. A week of rent is around $350. The cheapest, trashiest hostel was $190 per night. A random stranger from a Facebook group and his wife offered us his couch. If he was going to murder us at that point, we didn't care. We never met these people before. They had no obligation whatsoever to help us. They still did. They offered us their living room for a week, as I found a room for us, but it wasn't going to be available until a week after. During this time, Lilly was glued to her phone and headphones. She would go to sleep with the headphones on, talking to her boyfriend. She went to class while talking on the phone. She was in class while talking on the phone. She came home and went to sleep while talking on the phone. You get it. One day she started crying while not talking over the phone. Everybody in the house assumed she was sad because of her boyfriend. And this really pissed her off for some reason, to the point where she just stood up and left mid-conversation. After 20 minutes, she came back. She sat down and said to the house owners, "I thank you for what you are doing for us, but do not talk about my partner because you don't know him and is none of your business," with the rudest attitude in the world. Mind you, if they wanted to kick us out right there, they could have, and they almost did. I had to smooth things out. After that, we moved to our new place. We were sharing a room. We were supposed to split rent in half. Something about me is that I hate to remind people to pay me or ask for payment. I believe people are mature enough to know what they owe and pay for themselves, especially when it comes to rent. The idea was that she would transfer me her half of the rent every week and I would then send the money to the owner. However, because I wasn't constantly reminding her, She would often forget. Until 3 weeks later, when I had no other option but to ask. But, as you can imagine, because it was 3 weeks worth of rent, Lily was, "Oh sorry, I don't have that much money, I'll give you half this week, and the other half later on." And this was a thing with her. When I came home, she would be like, "Aren't you hungry? Let's go for some KFC." Then as we were in line, she would proceed to stay on her phone in the back when it was our turn to order pay, as if she was busy. So I would order and pay, and proceed to ask, "What did you get us?" This happened several times, and not once she paid for me or sent me any money. When we did this with friends, order a big sharing combo, and it was time to send the person who paid the money, it was expected of me to cover her part, and people thought about us as one individual. Though I think this is what I told myself to deal with the situation, as I was too embarrassed to let other deals with her. Now, some random stuff that happened in no particular order, but little by little added to my patience collapsing. I would leave the house at 7 a.m. to go to class, and on days that I didn't have to work, I would come back at 2 p.m. She would still be sleeping. Her classes started at 1 p.m., would usually leave around 3 p.m. and come back at 5 p.m. Her classes would finish at 6 p.m. So yeah. Every Friday I would text her 3 times. 8 a.m. when I left the house, 1 p.m. when I was on my way to work, and at 6 p.m. when I was on my break. "Hey, please don't forget to send me the money for rent." And she would often do it by the next day, even though we were supposed to pay it first thing in the morning on Fridays. It was impossible to have a conversation with her, as she was always on the phone with her boyfriend. This was confirmed by our housemate, as even watching a movie together was not possible. She made a list of room rules, in a very passive-aggressive way. She got a whiteboard marker one day and wrote a bunch of rules in the closet's mirror. I got back from work to at least 5 rules written all over my mirror without prior discussion. This were all things that made sense, and since I was used to living alone, I thought they made sense, and I was not aware they were bothering her. They were simple stuff like, don't leave the shoes around and put them inside the closet after you take them off. Don't leave random items on the nightstand, and use the drawers to put said items, etc. I complied without saying anything, as once again, they made sense. I also decided to add some rules myself. One was clean after ourselves, as she would tend to do her makeup in front of the mirror and splash some foundation over it but not clean it. And not leaving dirty dishes or half-eaten food inside of the bedroom overnight, she could eat there. I had no problem, but just take the trash dishes away before going to bed, which she never did. By that point, every single time we bought groceries, I outright paid for them. She would pay for her use exclusive items, i.e. yogurts. I'm lactose intolerant, so I wouldn't touch those. And then step away when it was time to pay for our shared groceries. Meat, eggs, overall stuff to cook lunch and dinners, and just let me pay for everything, always. One time I asked her to buy a tray of chicken breast for lunch. I said to our housemate, I'm not buying anything else until she does. I would remind her every single day to do so. Needless to say, we had no groceries for 3 weeks. I would complain and say something about my credit card debt, and she would pretend to have nothing to do with it. Even when I directly asked her, she would say she didn't have a job yet. Mind you, she wasn't looking. She got a job, well paid. It was a 10-minute walk from our house. Many hours available, perfect. Well, turns out on her first day, she lied and said she had to leave early due to a school assignment. At that point, she had already dropped out of her English class. Because, and I quote, she felt annoyed because a customer looked at her weirdly. She did nails, so it was a nail salon. Then proceed to ignore the text messages from the owner, asking if she could work an extra day for 3 days straight. Then showed up late after that, and was surprised they fired her. She never called my stepmom, the one who paid for the trip, on her birthday or on Mother's Day. In my country, we congratulate every mother that is close to us on Mother's Day, even if they are not our mother. I borrowed $50 from her as we need $100 cash to pay for put accommodation, and I didn't have cash. She made such a big deal out of it to the point where she just took my phone while I was taking a nap and transferred herself the money on the same night. Mind you, at that point, she already owed me the Airbnb, groceries, her phone plan, and some nail supplies, a total of $500-ish. She would make a big fuss whenever I had lunch outside and didn't invite her or brought her anything. However, she would often come back to me with empty bags of food that she had, but not once brought me anything or called me asking if I wanted anything. The night before, I decided to wash our trash bin. I left it in the patio to air and dry. Next morning, she proceeds to make some breakfast and couldn't be bothered to bring the bin inside. You could clearly see it outside the glass door the moment you walked towards the kitchen. So she just left half-chopped raw onions, tomato, and eggshells in the sink and left. She was impossible to talk to, not only me but anyone. So our housemate, the one who saw it first, asked me to talk to her, and that it was not okay per house rules. This was a common thing. She would make a big deal about anyone telling her anything, so people rather just not tell her anything and had me deal with the situation. Every single time we drank and home, we would play this game about asking deep question. The one that she asked me like 3 or 5 times was, "What's the worst thing that I could do to you now?" My answer was always the same. Hook up with David, our housemate. She has a past of being not respectful. One time she full-on had intimacy with her boyfriend under the blankets while the 3 of us were watching a movie in my room. Another time when we fall asleep on my bed. I only found out when she told me months later while she was drunk. We had a really good relationship with David and I didn't want to worry about walking on them doing stuff in the living room or under the blanket when watching a movie or anything. So I literally said to her, "If you want to hook up with randoms, go for it. If you want to cheat on your boyfriend, you go girl, but just not with David, please." She would always make me feel crazy for ever thinking that she would do something like that. This is important. 3 weeks after coming to Australia, she met a guy. He was tall, single. That's a whole different story on its own. And seemed very interested in her. She was still together with her boyfriend at the time, saying "I love you" over the phone, then hang up, saying she was going to take a nap, call the new guy, Sam 42, male, to pick her up. I will admit I also enabled her to start going on with Sam, saying stuff like, "Enjoy your life, enjoy your youth." We were also super broke at the time, and the guy had money to spare, as he didn't have any hobbies. So she would take her out to fancy restaurants. She started staying over Sam's more and more every week, to the point that me and David would only see her once or twice a week when she dropped by to wash her clothes and or pick new ones. Even David said to me randomly, "Man, we love so comfortable and hassle-free when it's just the 2 of us, huh?" So yeah, it wasn't just me. At this point she was working doing nails at Sam's house, getting clients over Facebook groups, but still hasn't paid me a single cent to help towards my credit card's debt. A couple months into bracing with Sam, she decided to break up with her boyfriend. Not because of Sam, but because they'd been doing long distance for 4 months or so, and it wasn't working. On a random day after I came back from work, David was feeling really down. He asked me to go out for a drink. I had the next day off, so I agreed, as I would worry if he left alone on that state. It was a good night. We drank, danced, chatted with strangers. Overall, a good time. We were having our last beer and were talking about random stuff, when he confessed that he now felt grossed out that he and Lilly kissed twice before, as she was like family to him now. I was, "Excuse the fork out of me, what do you mean?" He then confessed that they did made out twice before a couple of months ago, but Lilly told him to not say anything to me. At that point, I was not even mad about the kiss. Had they told me when it happened, I would have been like, "Fork you, buy me a drink," and moved on. However, it was the gaslight from Lilly, making me feel crazy, and the fact that it's the only thing that I had asked of her in forever. And she couldn't even do that for me. Plus, I've been dealing with stuff I listed before for 5 months already. I knew I wanted out of this situation and out of Lilly, but I didn't have the heart to just leave her, because if she ever needed anything, I would have wanted to help her. So, in my head, and this is where I may be the AH, as I could have been just trying to justify my actions, I reached the conclusion that I couldn't leave her. However, I could do something so she would leave me on her own accord. I took my phone and called my cousin. They were already broke up, but they still talked over the phone every single day. And as far as I knew, they still promised to get back together in the future. I told him everything. "Remember that time you called me and asked me if she was okay, but she was feeling sick and now her phone was off?" I said I was working and wasn't home. Welp, it was a lie. She went to the beach with Sam, turned off her phone, and I was home watching a movie with David. Remember, on her birthday she sent you a picture, but neither me or David were on the picture, despite living with her. Well, that's because that was Sam's house. He's even in the picture she sent you wearing matching coats he got her for her birthday. He was broken. I texted him in the morning to see how he was doing, but by my surprise, he had deleted me from Facebook and unfollowed me on Instagram, while Lilly had blocked me from everything. She came to the house 2 days later saying she was moving out and was there to collect her things. That was the last day we spoke, the end of June 2023. I didn't heard from her until September this year when my dad passed away. It was a simple short message. "I am back in my country as I came to spend my dad's last days with him and help my family. As far as I know, she is still in Australia. I don't know how or where. Oh, and she and my cousin still talk every day. I know this from my aunt. I'm aware that it seemed that I could have handled things a better way. Maybe I could have. However, it was really not possible to tell her anything at the time, as she would get defensive and retaliate right away. My life in Australia took an upgrade after that. I found a better place to live, got along amazingly with my new roommate, to the point we still talk even 6 months after coming back to my country. Got a full-time job, so my money issues disappeared. Met new amazing people. Overall, my time in Australia, despite the rocky start, was amazing, and I'm glad I did what I did. Story 2. Caught my sister cheating. Should I tell her boyfriend? Basically, yesterday I caught my sister with another guy, who was not her boyfriend, and when I confronted her about it, she said it was a form of revenge. So I was like, huh? And then she said that her boyfriend's brother had cheated on her best friend, so she planned to cheat on him to get back at his brother. Anyway, and I told her that that doesn't make it right. And I told her I was going to tell her boyfriend. But then she said she was going to tell my dad that I want to join the military, still in high school, which I've told her many times before, that I want to tell him myself, as he can get really angry, especially since he wants me to go to college. Anyways, she just has been repeatedly saying that if I tell her boyfriend, she's going to ruin my life, and like saying, if you love my boyfriend so much, why don't you date him? Yeah, so like what should I do? Edit. Thanks guys for all the help. I decided that I'ma just tell my dad that I'm planning to join the military, but still tell him college is still an option. My sister won't really have leverage, and it's not like I'm living with her forever. Plus, my dad will most likely be 100 times more mad at her than me. As soon as I graduate, I'm getting out of my house. It's so toxic. Yeah, and I will tell her boyfriend. He's a really good guy, and I don't think he deserves to be cheated on without knowing, especially since they've been dating for 4 years. I also know that he's planning to take her to Miami for her birthday, and I don't want him spending thousands of dollars with a piece of trash while she's happy in the damn beach. But that's just me. By the way, my sister is 23, and she's overall a horrible person too, with how she treats our mom. So yeah, I'll let you know what happens. Update. I took a lot of people's advice, and I firstly decided to go tell my dad about my plan to join the military. At first, he got really mad and saying stuff like, girls can't do that, and how I will be gone. But then I told him that there's still a lot of roles out there that are not combat related. And I also told him that I plan to pursue my college degree by using the educational benefits of the military. As soon as I said that, I sort of noticed that he was actually paying attention to me. So yeah, I just said that I haven't abandoned college and I'm still gonna get a degree just through the military route. I also then told him that I can still go to college and go through ROTC in order to become an officer and stuff like that. After that, it was just kind of awkward silence, but then I decided to tell him that I caught my sister cheating on her boyfriend, and he got really, really, really mad and asked me tons of questions like, who was she cheating with? How long has it been? When did I find out? And etc., etc. I told him that we should go tell her boyfriend, as it's better to not keep my sister's boyfriend in the dark, and we agreed. We've known him for 4 years, and he does a lot of stuff with my dad, so I guess he was kind of like the son my dad never had. So, me and my dad drove to the boyfriend's house, and I basically just told him everything, as well as all the text messages between my sister and I, on how she was going to ruin me and tell my dad everything about my plans. After that, her boyfriend just started bawling in tears. He calmed down after what felt 30 minutes, and he just said that he's going to 100% break up with her because she's a B-word, and how he couldn't believe that she'd do this to me. By the way, I also asked him about the brother cheating on best friend fiasco thing, and he said he had no clue what the heck that was about. He also told me that he's still going to go to Miami, just not with her. Instead, he's going to bring his best friend. So guess he'll still be able to enjoy Miami. He said thank you to me a gazillion times, and that he was so glad that I told him, and that he owes me one. Anyway, so me and my dad went home, and my sister was there, and she confronted me about it because she already got a call while we were driving home from her boyfriend. She got really mad at me and talking about how God will make you pay, I hope you get cheated on when you grow up, and you're gonna pass away in the military, and I'm gonna be so happy. My dad flipped his crap out and basically gave what felt like an hour talk to my sister. And the whole talk sounded like my sister had the mental capacity of an 8-year-old, which she most likely does. My sister then started yelling and saying that our dad and mom should have never had me, and that I'm so annoying, and she then started to throw things around the house like an extreme temper tantrum and pulling her hair and literally going on the ground and doing that thing that toddlers do when they don't get their favorite toy. Swear she is not a real person. My mom then came in and got her to calm down, but told her that she had to leave for at least the night just to calm down. So my sister got some clothes and told us that she was going to be at a friend's house and that her friend will vouch for her and that she'll come back whenever she feels like it. So yeah, it was just me and my mom and dad at the house, and it was so quiet there, and no one had spoken one word to each other. Like even in the morning too, no one was talking to each other, but I'm in school right now, so yeah. Me personally, I'm glad that I was able to pull through and get the whole military talk out of the way, and I'll see if my dad would like to do more research on the military. But yeah, that's it. And thank you to all the people who said to tell her boyfriend too. It was 100% the right thing to do, because if someone was cheating on me, I'd want someone to tell me. Yeah, so thanks again, and hope everyone has a nice night or day.